Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's Bayside Local Planning Panel meeting. Firstly, I acknowledge the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. The Council pays respects to Elders past and present. My name's Grant Christmas. I'm the chair of tonight's meeting. I'm joined by three panel members. To my left, Judy Clark, expert member, Peter Brennan, expert member, and community representative member is Peter Cowter. For the purposes of disclosing interests, each of us have filled in a form stating that we have no conflicts of interest with respect to any of tonight's items on the agenda. And that's, if I can just confirm that, Judy, that's correct?
Yes, no conflicts.
Two Peters, yes, no conflicts. I have no conflicts. Thank you. Apologies. Now, firstly, in terms of just to run through the process, now the panel's charged with considering planning proposals, not the case tonight, but we are charged with determining certain development applications where the value is less than $30 million and where there is a potential conflict of interest or is contentious development or substantial departure from development standards or sensitive development. The panel sits in the shoes of the elected council in that regard and determines all of those development applications that fall within those categories. Also, the panel considers development applications which have attracted 10 or more unique submissions, which some of the matters before us tonight fall into that category. Now, all decisions are published on the council's website, normally within 7 days. Now, tonight's meeting is being live streamed. It's a public meeting, it's recorded, and it's available on YouTube should you wish to watch it. The recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with freedom of information legislation. Applicants and members of the public who have registered to speak on an item will be asked to unmute their phone or computer at the relevant time to address the panel and to answer any questions. Alternatively, members of the public may have registered for the meeting by making a written submission which has been provided to the panel members, which is again is the case with some of the items tonight. Once the council has heard from all the speakers, including the applicants, we will either make a decision during the public meeting or adjourn to consider our decision. All decisions of the panel, as I indicated, are published on the website. I think that covers the formalities. That being the case, as I indicated, and I might just run through this, the matters on tonight's agenda are firstly development application for the property relating to 55 to 61 Bonar Street at Arncliffe. Now, there was one written submission to the panel which we've been provided with. Now, registered and attending in person, Mr. Lawton, are you here? Terrific. And I've also been advised that an Estelle Bott, do you wish to address us?
Yes.
Yes. No worries. And I don't believe that the applicant has registered anyone to speak. That's correct. Yep, we're getting the affirmative there. No applicant reps. Okay. And the second item on tonight's agenda is that development application relating to numbers 1 to 5 Charles Street at Arncliffe. Now, that we received one written submission, which we've been provided with. There's nobody speaking against that item. I've got Stephen Kerr. Hello, Stephen. Registered to speak on behalf of the applicant. You got the architect here as well, is that right? Mr. What's your first name?
Steve.
Steve? Got two Steves. All right, no worries. Okay, that's it as far as the addresses go, so it shouldn't be a particularly long meeting. I did wish to make the point after this meeting, there'll be a non-public meeting. So there's 3 items that the panel will consider tonight, and we have this afternoon all been out on the bus ride and had a look at all of the sites. So we're certainly familiar with the sites and the proposals before us. Without any further ado, then I'll get the meeting underway. And I'll call on, get the papers right. Wish to address us, Mr. Lawton?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council identified the lack of, as I said, a proposal for development so that they're not isolated properties. Now, my understanding is there's 2 functions. There has to be a reasonable offer made by the developer to ensure they're not isolated, and that they've also have a plan. Now, there's no plan. Council's acknowledged that. But what I think the planning panel should also address and consider is the lack of a reasonable offer. Now, it's purported that there was an offer made in relation to this application and there was no response. Well, that's not correct at all. There was a response. And I doubt if the planning panel has any information before it as to the offer and that response. I can provide an email that outlines that if you wish. Now, the offer was for a purchase price of $1.52 million with an exchange period of 3 months in advance and then a finalisation or settlement period 18 months after exchange with a 3% deposit. Now, this applicant had purchased 55 Bonar Street, Arncliffe, in October 2022 for $1.6 million. So what he's asking 51 and 52 to 53 to do is take a lot less money and wait a long time to get paid. And it's just not reasonable. Now, I'm not sure how it worked, but I realise that he's lodged an appeal as a result of so I'm not sure if the planning panel's determination is also subject to appeal or some amalgamation. What I'm suggesting or submitting to the panel is that there be more emphasis on acknowledging or agreeing that it was a reasonable offer or it wasn't, because in terms of the owners of 51 and 53, they're totally unreasonable. You expect someone to take less money 2 years later and wait 18 months plus to get it. I mean, it looks like an offer that was not expected to be accepted. That's all I'm saying in relation to that. So I'd implore the panel to look more closely at it. I do have that email if you want to have a look at it. I'm prepared. It was responded to by Estelle Bott, 53. I didn't respond to it. It was so outrageously inadequate that I wasn't going to waste my time in a response. So that email trail, offer, acceptance, offer, counter offer and refusal by the developer to accept the counter offer. So these properties could have been developed in their entirety. It's just to have a developer that seems to not want to put the hand in the pocket, shall we say. That is probably the main thing I wanted to talk about. The other is if this development is you're going against council's recommendations, all of the conditions that were imposed in relation to the earlier application, that's the 2021 application, would be appropriate. I noticed that there was a proposal to put access from 53 to 51 and 53 basement car park through to 55. That was only on 1 level, I think. Council officers, I think, identified that it should be on 3 levels. I'd certainly support that. The the bulk of the development really is just too big for the size. It really will overpower Bonar Street in my view. The other issue I wanted to raise was the calculation of the additional floor space ratio under SEP Housing 2021. Now, for some reason, the applicant in their statement of environmental circumstances indicated that, will they get a flat 30%? Well, that's just not how SEP is supposed to operate. It's a proportional amount based on the amount of affordable housing you have. Now, if you have, so in nowhere in the statement of environmental circumstances did the applicant use the term up to 30%. They just think they've got a blanket 30%, and it's not the way it works at all. So I would again submit that the planning panel outline how they're going to apply SEP 21, SEP Housing 2021. Because when you have a look at section 16 of that, Division 1, section 16, you can get up to 30%. But it's the affordable housing component that is the critical factor, and it's a percentage of the gross floor area. I know council's offices are calculated. I don't entirely agree, they're pretty close, but I don't entirely agree because I've used a different document. But once you, for example, if you get 30% of your affordable housing in your development, then you've still got to divide it by 2 under the section 16.2 of SEP Housing 2021. So you only get 15% above the allowable floor space ratio. At the moment, that's 1.1. You divide it by, you multiply it by, add on the 15%, multiply it by 1.15, you get just over 2. And of course, in the application, it's got something like 2.3. It's just not correct. Now, for a future application, if the applicant chooses to do that, or even a pending appeal, my suggestion is that the planning panel identify how they're applying SEP Housing 2021, because I don't think council's officers have been close, but I don't think they're right. The other aspect I found unusual was the inclusion of the whole site in the calculation of floor space ratio. That's some 1,200 square metres, the entire site. Sorry, am I allowed to continue?
Please do.
That includes the road reservation of 2.7 metres along the entirety of the front of the site. Now, council officers said there's nothing to prohibit it being included, but I would think that it's certainly prohibited, I would say, under the Botany Local Environmental Plan, because the application, if it's made under SEP Housing, has a slightly different definition, which is that means the land on which the development is or will be carried out. Well, there's no development being carried out on that 2.7 metre frontage. It can't be, because it's prohibited, as council has a road reservations over it. So my argument is that the floor space ratio should be considered, yes, I know, we've always done it this way and this is the way we'll do it in the future.
I think you'll find that the way it's calculated is actually the LEP.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you say that, because the LEP says that it's not to be considered if it's prohibited. Now, if you're saying it's not prohibited, yes, you include it. But if it's prohibited, you can't include it in the LEP because it's prohibited by the LEP, the road reservation. And that was my argument. The argument, if you're relying on SEP, is a little bit weaker, I'll agree. But if you're relying on the LEP, I'm looking at 4.53 and 4, 4.5, yeah, 3 and 4. It says following land must be excluded from the site area. Land on which the proposed development is prohibited, whether on this plan or any other law. Converse is, if it's not prohibited, yes, you can include it. If you're saying it is prohibited, you can't include it in the floor space ratio. The end result is that the increases sought by the applicant in relation to floor space ratio and height are extended, are even greater, expanded, I should say. Yeah. So,
I understand. Right.
so that's, thank you for allowing. Do you want?
I've just got a couple of
Yeah, sure.
questions for you. So I take it you're the owner of 51.
Correct.
Okay. And you, so you received, you indicated that you had previously received an offer, what, in relation to previous?
Look, it's outlined, and I've got my earlier submission in relation to this application. And I outline in some detail the recent history. That's in my email of the 18th of March this year. You can have a copy of that too if you wish.
Can I be very blunt?
Yeah.
If you were offered enough money, would you sell?
Yes. But I have to agree. I was offered back in 2022 $1.45 million. It was a good price. But unbeknownst to me, the conditions of the offer were you wait 16 months to get paid. And property prices were increasing 1% and 2% a month. So I was going to be out of pocket a lot. So yes, give me the money. Same with my neighbour. I'm just.
It's often the case where people won't sell under any circumstances.
That's not the
I just
case.
want to clarify that your position is you will sell at the right price, which is understandable.
Well, I expect to be compensated for it, not. Any other questions you wish to?
I just want to clear.
Yep.
You said they offered you 1.5?
1.52.
1.52.
Yeah.
3% deposit.
Yep.
3 month settlement.
18 months.
No,
three
months exchange.
18 month settlement after exchange.
Settlement. And was there an agreement that you would stay in the house for that 18 months?
Well, there may have been, but you know, I don't think I'll be doing it for free. But
Okay. And the one you said they sold for 1.6.
in October 2022, 55 Bonner Street. So that is, I can't see that, as I said before, I can't see that as being a reasonable offer. 5 year. 51 and 52, 51 and 53, you take less. And wait longer to get it too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good.
Estelle, do you want to? Thank you.
Just to go on further with the offer that we received, you were there today, you looked at the properties.
Yep.
Did you get a chance to look at 51 and 53?
We certainly did.
Okay. Now, the development proposal takes this development up to the, the boundary line. Now, I have a concern about that. There is no, no setback. It's right up to the boundary line. Now, when the same developer built the units at 63 through to 69, I think, they left a setback. They're not doing that with my property at 53. The rain will hit the wall, will go down, which adds further to the water running down the driveway. My property is on an incline, goes down to the carport, goes down to the garage. The other thing is, with that offer, if you look at property number 55, the roof line, it's not straight, it's coming out, the back wall's coming out. I may need a new kitchen, but I certainly don't need a new roof. So when you look at the amount of money they offered against the amount of money they paid for 55, it just doesn't make sense. Now, I'm not out to make a profit. I want to stay in the area. So I need enough money to purchase a new property, pay for the stamp duty, thank you, and also moving costs, whatever. I'm not out to get heaps of money out of this. If the offer is reasonable, then I can buy another property. I've got 3 railway stations within walking distance. You know, it's pretty hard to get a property around the area that, you know, I'll be able to pay in 18 months' time. It's too long to wait, 18 months. That just doesn't make sense. The other thing, the possible damage that may be caused to number 51 and 53 while the property next doors are while the construction goes on. I'm really worried. Our properties are around 100 years old, if not more. So they are very delicate properties, or buildings, I should say, and I am worried about that. That's all. Thank you.
Can I just ask you, how long have you lived there?
1989.
And likewise, can I ask you the same question? Although I'm pretty sure you expressed it, but just for the record, so at the right price, you'd be prepared to sell as well?
Yes, if I can buy another property with that kind of money, you know, it's...
Yeah, no, I understand. Any other questions from panel members?
No, Mr. Chair.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's the 2 speakers in relation to item number 1. And then we have Stephen Kerr and Steve Zappia. You can both come up. I don't personally have any questions in relation to this matter, but come up because my esteemed panel members may well do, or if you want to say anything about the council officer's report and conditions. Not sure. Floor is yours if you like.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In terms of the council officer's report, obviously we're happy with the report, happy with the conditions, grateful for the assistance of the design review panel through this process. We registered to speak as a convenience to the panel, so if there are any questions you have of us, we are here and happy to help.
As we said earlier, we had a look at the site, had a good wander around, understood the circumstances, the fact that there's already a consent for the site and this seeks to alter and add to that consent. We understand how the council officers have drafted the conditions to make sure that the two work together. I'm reasonably comfortable with that. So I don't have any questions. Any? No?
I have no questions.
I'd just like to ask about the setback to the southern boundary and the rationale behind that, having regard to the provisions and for the apartment design guide 3F, visual privacy.
Yeah, certainly that's a reasonable question. You would have seen when you're out on site and from the plans as well that it's an odd shaped site because of the geometry of Charles Street, and on our southern boundary there, that property provides vehicle access to 130 to 140 Princes Highway, a development site that has a consent in place, in which we understand that consent's been activated. And so on that southern boundary, what we adjoin is essentially a very wide driveway and landscaping. And so in terms of the design criteria for building separation for visual privacy that you mentioned, that's achieved with the benefit of that driveway to the south. But to be doubly sure, you might have seen on the plans, there's a living room that faces to the south on that Charles Street corner of the building. It's been treated with privacy devices on the window that faces to the south as well. And that was a matter that was looked at very carefully in the original DA, looked at very carefully by the design review panel, looked at again by the design review panel with this amending DA, and the design review panel was satisfied that the proposal achieves the design quality objectives of the ADG, which say in relation to this particular issue that the development has to have reasonable levels of visual and acoustic privacy, and it achieves that through a combination of the factors I've described, even though it might not comply with the design criteria, which is that numerical criteria in the ADG.
Thank you.
No worries.
Any others? Nope.
No.
Nope. No, that's, unless there was the conditions you're satisfied with?
Satisfied with the conditions. Everything's good.
Yep.
As I said, we're here as a convenience to
Yep.
the panel, and I will do my best not to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing us, and thank you for attending tonight. To
night.
you and the architect.
Nice to see you.
That's it. That's the two items. So I didn't declare the meeting open. I'll declare it closed at 5:26. Thank you.